GEM is called the Gender Evaluation Methodology, and as a bit of a background, we started working on developing the methodology in 2000 when we had our first workshop. And the tool itself was written in 2004, 2005. So we've been implementing or using the methodology for a while in a number of projects. So we've tested it, and at the moment we are adapting it in different ICT for development projects. So what is it? GEM is a tool that provides a framework, both a framework of analysis and a methodology for integrating gender analysis into evaluations that use ICT. So that's what the tool is. The starting point, as I was saying earlier, is that it is a tool that analyzes and evaluates gender-related changes. So those are the two, I think, important things. It will analyze and evaluate gender-related changes associated with an intervention. And as I said earlier, the basic premise there is that, one, there's the basic premise in the tool itself or in the evaluation is that there is a recognition that there is gender inequality or inequity in whatever in your context, in the context of the project, and generally. Sorry about that. Okay. And secondly, that there is women's discrimination, subordination, and oppression, and that this is across class, sectors, cultures, countries. So that's the basic starting point of the framework that we use in the tool. And that when we look at changes, what changes are we talking about? So what are the gender-related changes that we want to analyze and we want to evaluate? So these are, in fact, changes in three different, you can categorize them in three ways. One is around women's status and agency. So you're looking at empowerment, status in relation to, let's say, government. How many, how are women in in governance positions? Are women in, let's say, in projects? Are their role? What are they? What roles are they playing? Which brings us then to the second area, which are gender roles among women and men. And that could be in different contexts again. So for example, in projects, let's say, that are in communities, what roles do women and men, traditional roles that women and men play in society. So you'll see then how, let's say you have an intervention, does it contribute to changes in how women and men, what their roles are in the community? Do they have new areas of employment, for example? Is their status, they're more integrated into decision-making positions, for example? So those are the things that you look at. So one, women's status and agency. Second, gender roles among women and men. And the third are gender relations. And this is, in fact, the recognition that in gender there are power dynamics, there are power relationships, and that an intervention then would look at how it changes, how changes in gender relations, let's say in a family, is affected when in an intervention. For example, an example that I use is, let's say, an ICT intervention looking at how ICT contributes to income for women who are employed in the home, for example. I mean, there are projects like that, now that, and in that sense, women may have new income because they have new employment, but at the same time, it doesn't change relationships or power relationships in the domestic field. So they're still doing the same roles, and it doesn't challenge the traditional way, the traditional roles of men and women. So those are the basic premise. And I think you'll find in your different projects, you'll find elements of that, of status, roles and gender relations. So that's the basic premise of that we use in GEM. And the way we work, and the way we do it is in the evaluation context, and we'll see it in when I run the CD, we identify, let's say, an intervention, a telecenter intervention in a community that will promote information, information related to different development information, let's say. So you look at what your gender issues are in your community and say, okay, what kinds of information should this intervention have? Are the issues here that there is a need for information around maternal health, for example, because women's health, in fact, in this community is not, there's no hospitals for women, there are no prenatal care in this community. So those are issues that you find in your context. And then from there, you then look at, we identify indicators then that will help you measure the change after an intervention. So let's say after you introduce your project, then you will then have a situation where women have much more information. So your indicator could be that women's maternal health, or that the project contributes to more women being informed, and that women then are able to find more health solution, more better health information, and it leads them to get better services. So that's how we look at the issues. And there's in the same way that Jess was talking about MSc, we use GEM. GEM has been used in two different ways. So there's two ways of using it currently, and there could be, and this is sort of coming from our experience. One is conducting pure gender evaluation. So that's all you're interested only in doing a gender evaluation. You're only interested in evaluating how your project contributes to changing gender roles and gender relations, let's say. You can do that. You can use GEM and do that kind of evaluation. But the more common one that has been used, how GEM has been used so far, is evaluating or integrating gender dimension in the overall evaluation of a project. So then, let's say, for example, for this project, which is the digital snapshot of Asia-Pacific economies, you have an evaluation goal, you have an evaluation question. Then you would then look at, okay, what's the gender dimension of this evaluation? And it is actually, quite a number of people organizations have used it in that way. So it's sort of a plug-in. We call it like a GEM plug-in. So that can be used as well. So also in terms of its use, it can be used to improve project design, and it can also be used to evaluate outcomes. So, and in fact, in terms of the project design, quite a number of organizations who we've worked with, their projects that's ongoing, they then review their projects and then they do a gender analysis of their project and then see how either gender is missing or it's not been addressed enough, or and that then they would then integrate that. And a lot of studies after studies after studies around ICT projects have said that there's a lot of need. There's very little integration still of gender in ICT for development projects. There's a recognition that's important, but how to in fact do it? How do you sustainably do it, or pay attention to it is the problem. So let's say from project goal, people will have a project goal around, then this should, like a general statement, and this should respond to gender empowerment, etc., etc. But then there's this, a feminist calls it fade away, where as soon as you go deeper into the project, you actually do not see it's not operationalized, and it sort of, at the end of the project, you actually do do not come back to that goal in